Welcome back and thank you very much indeed. We'll have a conversation shortly with the Executive Director of Child Rights International, Mr. Bright Apia, and also we get to talk about Ghana's Most Beautiful. The official launch happened yesterday in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. Cookie tea and it's a kweku for all the royalty that were present, all the 16 beauties that we outdoored. We're set and ready to rock and roll. But a few birthdays here this morning. This is from, Risa says, happy birthday to Innocentia Esinyako. Thank you for your support and your love as well. This is from Risa here at Media General. And what's the next one quickly? Let's do it. Happy birthday to Priscilla Labi. This is from the entire family. Happy birthday to you, Priscilla Labi. Happy birthday to Reverend Mawunya Amedeku. I love you from your wife, Elsie. And happy belated birthday to Rafelsha Etanam Ejewa Bekwin. That's Komla Kluche's wife. Yeah, Komla Kluche, because he covers the big House of Parliament. So Komla Kluche, yeah, looking forward to bigger things. So Rafelsha Ejewa, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday also to... or is that all? Okay, happy birthday to Olayinka Najama Wilson Kofi. Yeah, that's your there. Your husband says a happy birthday to you, Sunday school teacher. A happy birthday to Ni Aite Hammond. Yeah, champion himself. Ni Aite, happy birthday. Nigbe say happy birthday to Perpetua Opey Labi of GMB from Entertainment Desk at Media General. Also a happy birthday. That's the last one, right? Actually, wow. Okay, so we're going to have a conversation now with Mr. Bright Apia of Child Rights International. Do you know that the issues about school feeding program, issues about feeding at the basic level, issues about whether or not to review the school feeding program and all the issues within the education sector? Bright Apia is the go-to person and he joins us now. Bright, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. How are you doing, Senior?
I'm doing very well. And you?
Senior Hot Kosan. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How's Child Rights doing?
We're doing well.
I'm sure that the issues about school feeding, issues about the children in the secondary schools who can find food to eat, assurances from the minister that we're going to provide the food for them. I mean, how do those issues come to you when you hear them, especially in the press? I know that you have deep-throated sources, but when you hear them escalating, how do you feel?
Well, I feel that we are not prepared, you know, and the preparation process is not adequate, you know, to deal with the issues and how we project, you know, knowing that we've given the work to buffer stock to handle. And we know the objective of buffer stock. At least buffer stock should be able to feed this country, if not nothing at all, for 6 months. So if buffer stock is the one who is providing the food and they still have difficulties in terms of the payment and all that, then it raises issues as to whether we are prepared enough to deal with issues of feeding in secondary schools and then also at the basic level. So it's an issue of preparation and the kind of planning that we have in place to ensure that we sustain the agenda that we have for our children.
The question of nutrition and education is very important because the argument has been made, and yourself and many other within that space have made the suggestion that you need the right kind of food in order for your brain to be able to develop properly, for you to be able to accept efficiently and effectively what is being taught to you. Now, 97 pesos to feed a child at the basic level. They're asking for 3 CDs. What do you say?
Well, for me, that amount doesn't make sense to me in terms of the 93 pesos that they used to feed the children. I don't know what goes into it and the component and how you expect that a caterer would give a good meal which contains a proper nutritional content for our children to feed them with that 93%.
97 pesos.
97%. It doesn't make sense at all. So for me, even the three CDs is not even enough, because when you look at the component of the amount that you've mentioned, there are issues of management, there are issues of procurement, and then also there are issues of payment. So if you put all together, you realize that children would get maybe less than 30% of that amount. And the question that we need to ask ourselves is that would that be enough to give them the kind of nutritional content that they need to grow? Because at the basic level, you cannot take certain things for granted, especially if you have studied the developmental stages of children, nutrition forms a crucial part of it in terms of their development.
Right.
So if you really want to do justice and resolve the issues of malnutrition and also to increase enrollment, then there is a need for you to pay attention to the basic level and then be very cautious of be cautious of the kind of things that they do for children at that level and how the monitoring system should be able to tell us that children must eat this and must eat that, because there's a lot of organizations that are doing research into some of these things to be able to give you a low-cost food that will be relevant to our children. But again, the nature of how caterers go about cooking the food and all that, you realize that some of these researches are not even impacting on the way and nature they should conduct themselves when they are preparing food for our children. So all this comes together to tell you that no, there is no any proper plan designed even for the caterers to provide the necessary food that they need and all that. But whatever it is, if the demand is you know, Johnny, sometimes I find it a bit worrying for caterers to rather demand for 3 Ghana cedis from government to say that is what we
because
need
97% is not coming, so they thought that, well, let's not stretch it. Let's say three
This is
cedis.
a government program, and you are just engaging the caterers to cook on behalf of the state.
That's right.
So the state should be able to determine that I will need X amount to be able to do work to protect my own children. You know, so it is not for them to determine the amount, but it's for the state to say that.
Well, but they are the ones who go to the market, right? They go to the market. They go shopping.
Measurement of inflation and all that. You know, government directly or indirectly will know what is happening in the market.
So you would rather the government made a proposal to say this is how much.
This is how much.
As opposed to the caterers coming to say, give us this.
I don't think that the caterer has any business to negotiate with government on how government want to feed its own children. You know, the state must say that, okay, these are the component of food that I want for my children. Therefore, this is the amount that I'm providing. And this amount, X percentage, must go directly to the benefit of children. And this must go to the management and the procurement of items for whatever you want to do. So government has clearly determined what to do. Then government must also give them a plan as to what they need to cook and how they should go about it.
Right.
Then you should also get the FDA to also certify the environment that they work before you say that, you know, this person, this caterer is capable of cooking for children and all that. But we have downplayed some of these things. That is why the caterer will have the authority to work with government and say that, give me 3 Ghana cedis to cook for the children. Because
so number one, you're saying that government should take a bold decision and have a dedicated budget or amount for it. It doesn't line the mouth of the caterers to be saying,
they are service providers.
saying that. But so far, the government has only provided 97%. Even that is in arrears, which is what is giving the caterers the voice to say, give us our money.
Exactly.
At least give us 3 cedis.
So if the planning processes are not right, anybody at all can decide to do what they want to do. And that is what we are experiencing.
But that sector is under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. The minister is AWOL on TikTok. No bold decision from Parliament yet on that. Minister.
I think that
and the ministry seems to be in turmoil under a caretaker minister. I don't know how you feel again.
Well, you see, the last time I came here, I think I made an appeal to the president that, look, take a look at that ministry. And it's a very crucial ministry. And it determines a lot of things when it comes to the social environment. Right. So we should not take that ministry for granted. If possible, government should appoint a new minister to that place to be able to manage the affairs of it. Because at the end of the day, if you're not careful, you make the chief director a politician. Right. Because the caretaker minister is also a substantive minister in another ministry. So therefore, most of the things she will be tempted to give it to the chief director to do. And that put the chief director in a position of a politician instead of taking administrative decisions and all that. So the president should take a bold step. And I will still make that a call to him that he should look at giving that ministry, you know, a substantive minister to manage the affairs of it. But Johnny, there's something that is coming out of
But the president believes in continuity. You see, that's the sense I get, that once he puts Brighter Pier at Child Rights International, he doesn't want to change Brighter Pier.
You see, that is also another alternative when it comes to policy implementation. It's a style. There are others that believe that once a minister comes into an office and you change that minister, policy also change. But I think that if we are very consistent with our policy arrangement, irrespective of whoever comes in, should also follow a certain footprint in implementing certain general policies. Right. Maybe the style will change, right, but the policy itself will not change. But in most of our cases, you realize that once a minister changes a minister, then the policy direction of that ministry also changes. And that, for me, it's what is probably making the president to think that, okay, if I appointed a minister in a position, continue. If your policies are good, continue. If not...
You were talking about two things coming out of this situation. What are they? You were mentioning, I mean, earlier you said there are two things emanating from this particular situation, or maybe we shall be for another time.
With the ministry or
with the ministry.
You see, yes. I was saying that look at the conduct of the minister himself, and I think that we should learn from it, because most of the excuses given by the minister is that there is a law that protects a child in the United States. For that matter, I cannot leave my child there. You know, because the child is not a citizen of Ghana, he's a citizen of another country. And the law protects the interests of that child. Even as an MP, he has to abandon her work to go and take care of the child. And if you compare the laws that we have in this country and that of US, ours is better than that of US. So it's just a matter of we saying that we want to implement our policies. Once we are able to do that, everybody will fall in line. So because of a law, a whole member of parliament, a minister has abandoned her work to provide the services that is demanded of her, you know, to take care of a child. So that should tell you that, look, if you implement our policies, people will recognize it, and they will also behave in a manner that conforms to the thing that we need to
Have we had the money to be able to do the things you're talking about? When you look at the feeding, for example, for basic school, secondary school, they can't find money to feed them, Coco Sakura, all the conversations we have about food without protein. Do we have the money? Or are we pretending not to have the money?
We should have the money. And I think that we have the money to do that if we manage it properly. And in managing, a colleague of mine will tell you that money doesn't like noise. You know, so you have to plan how you utilize resources. And social intervention programs are not policies that it should yield so much profit to providers all over the world. Even if you go to the United States of America, UK, Belgium and all that, social policies are less areas that people would think that they want to make profit because they understand that they are providing social services and all that. So if you make it in such a way that people see it as a business, you know, that once they are in, you know, they have to make a huge profit, then you would have this kind of issues that we are talking about now. So planning is very important, and the resources for social intervention must be consistent. Once you are able to determine that, you know, so if you have a school feeding program, maybe for 5 years, then you should be able to allocate resources for that. If you have it for the free senior high school, you should be able to allocate it because they will finish within 3 years.
That's right.
So you should have a plan for 5 years that I have resources that will cater for it. But if you don't do that plan, and as and when people, you know, need to provide services for you to pay them, you will see the kind of issue that where children go to school and they have to just take cocoa and sugar, which may not necessarily be in their interest or may not even support government programs and all that.
Old boys and old girls and PTAs are now supporting schools. I mean, that's a fact. Is it time we reviewed the free SHS policy, looking at the feeding component, and looking at a means test, looking at a certain segregation to say Bright Apia can pay for his children? Why must the state pay for him? What do you say?
There's a need for a review, but as to the levels of review, we'd have to look at it in a context, because there are two options available for government to implement social intervention programs, and school feeding is one of the typical social intervention programs you can talk about. So government has the opportunity to roll it out in a progressive manner, you know, to be able to, as and when you do it, then you identify the issues and then you resolve them before you scale it up. But this time, government has decided that, okay, on the basis that everybody pay taxes. Therefore, there are certain general social policies that that everybody must enjoy.
Right.
So government believes that one of the ways that everybody can have access to social intervention is through the free senior high school.
Right.
So on the basis of that, government has decided to roll it out on a wholesale. So once you do that, then you are giving yourself the opportunity to correct the anomalies as you move on. But it doesn't change the main policy.
Right.
So the review process must look at the structure.
The structure. Okay.
Of the whole school feeding program.
Okay. And that's what we need to be doing now.
That's what we need to be doing now. Not necessarily to say that we'd want to now bring it back to the pilot level or we want to make it progressive.
Because we are already
we have
beyond,
attained that level
okay.
already. So if there's anything that we need to review, is the structure of the whole school feeding program. And again, there are a lot of things that when you do, it even defeats the school feeding program itself. One is that once you allow parents to pay for certain services,
right.
you are defeating the purpose of the school feeding.
It's no longer free.
It's no longer free. So where they are calling on the PTAs to pay for children's school fees, feeding of children, I don't think that it's in favor of the policy.
If you met the president today, what would you tell him?
Well, for me, there are issues
that's my final question.
Yes, I will look at how we need to restructure the whole educational system, especially when it comes to providing interventions. The first, the basic and the basic level, is very important in establishing that right from the basic level to secondary school level, we need to be very consistent in the implementation of our policies,
right.
especially when it comes to the social interventions. Because as we speak now, there's a gap between secondary school and then basic school. You have the GHS not enjoying fully what we call free education.
Right.
So let's show that consistency and ensure that whatever we need to do or whatever program that we want to introduce when it comes to social interventions, we have to show consistency.
The foundation must be strong for the top to stand.
Exactly.
Right up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
He's the Executive Director of Child Rights International. He's our go-to person on issues of education and child rights and all the issues in between for our children. And he says that a child who is neglected today is the vagabond in future. I'm just paraphrasing, not exactly what it is.